Director of the Arvada Urban Renewal Authority, and this project lies within one of our urban renewal districts. This district started in 2003, so we've been working for 13 years to get to this day to show you these plans of what our developer is proposing. So I'm just here to welcome you and let you know that it's urban renewal and to introduce our developer. Well, the purpose of this meeting is to show you the site plan and the designs and get your input. What do you like? What don't you like? You know, what do you think? And we're here to get your input. So it's all about the site plan. If you have any questions regarding the business deal, this is not the place to talk about it. If you have questions, it's, the place to talk about that is at our urban renewal meeting. We meet the first Wednesday of every month at 5:30. So with that, I'd like to introduce our developer, who is Jay Drever. He is with Ralston Creek Development.
Hi, thank you for coming today. This project I'm developing with Jim Loftus, who a lot of you have met before when we were doing phase one. Jim called in sick about an hour ago, so typically he'd be standing up here, but I think I can handle it. This project we started a couple years ago with Maureen, and we've broken it into two phases. So as many of you know, phase one is retail, and we are pretty far along with that one. We've made it through most of our approvals, and we'll be likely breaking ground on that in August or September. That's about 30,000 square feet of retail in the corner of Ralston and Independence. That's in 4 buildings. It'll roughly be about 16 to 20 tenants. We've already had some pretty good indication that several tenants are interested, which would include like a restaurant, include probably dry cleaning, maybe some quick serve restaurants. So a lot of nice amenities for the community. That sits on about 4 acres, which leaves us with about 11 acres. We wanted to get that piece done. Originally, we were going to have the Safeway building included in that as a 24-hour fitness, but that fell apart. So we carved that off. That is now in what we're going to talk about today. I think most people here would agree with me that it's a good idea to get rid of that eyesore, do something with it. It's been vacant a long time, and graffiti and the windows are broken and things like that. So we are in the initial stages of planning this development, and this is why we're here today. We want your input. We want to hear what you have to say. We have ideas. As real estate developers, we know that certain things will not work here. We think what we conceptually are thinking of will work here, but again, this is a meeting designed to explain to you what we're thinking about and get your input. And with that, I would like to introduce Tim Van Meter, who is the chief architect on the project. He also worked, prior to us coming on board, he worked with the Urban Renewal Authority to come up with some general ideas, so he's been working on this a lot longer than I have. But I think Tim can kind of walk you through where we are, and then we're going to open it up for some Q&A, and then we will welcome the opportunity to stay up here, put the boards up, and mingle a little bit, ask questions. So, here's Tim.
It's like baseball. Maureen got on base, Jay moved around, I got to knock her home now. So I'm Tim Van Meter. My company's Van Meter Williams Pollock. We're based here in Denver and in San Francisco. My colleague Josefina, raise your hand, she's over here. If anybody's got any really tough questions, she's the one that you answer. I want the easy ones, please. So who was here for our initial phase one presentations? So you guys are okay. Anybody not familiar with the site that we're talking about here? Excellent, because you guys are the experts. We're still learning here. The image behind you is 2012, 2011, Mo, Clark?
Yeah, 2012.
Yeah, the outline development plan. As Mo said, the city, ARA, and the city have been working on redeveloping this area, and specifically the shopping center, for 13 years. And it's amazing that sometimes these things take so long, but sometimes to do the right thing, that's what it takes. So the outline development plan behind you was a public process sponsored by the city and the Arvada Urban Renewal Authority. It's an official document to basically, it's a master plan that leaves the agenda for future development on the site, that the private industry plugs into. And we're talking about, I'm sorry I don't have a pointer, but it's like an eye chart like that. I don't know if you guys can read that, but you're not supposed to. The idea is we're just following the rules that were set for us. That were set for us, set for Jay that engaged us to follow the rules that the public put in play a number of years ago on the site. And we're dealing with the 3 colored sites up there, 8, 9, and 10. They compose about 18 acres total, of which we're dealing with 15 acres that are owned by Ara and Jim and Jay that are owned by that entity. The total yield of those 18 acres on the official development plan or outline development plan is about 870,000 square feet of developable space. Okay. Of the 15 acres that we're about to show you that we're developing, that includes phase 1, which is already approved in for building permitting, and it's being bid right now by the construction industry. And phase 2, 11 acres, 4 plus 11, 15, our 15 acres, is a total of about 360,000 square feet. So we're about 41%, about a 41% of the total development area that the public has decided what could be on this site. And there's many different reasons why it's that way. So we're going to show you that. So this is with this slide. This is the official slide that gets us to the next slide, please. Beautiful. It's working. Nothing like having a good facility here, you guys. I was afraid we're pitting up in a room in the dark, but so this works. So this is the site. You guys are all familiar with it. It's sitting right at Ralston, bordered on the west by Independence, and on the east by Garrison. And this slide, every time I look at it, or this image, every time I look at it, it's amazing, the yin and yang of green versus asphalt, right? Some really great amenities, obviously the watercourse way, Arvada Central Park, the huge city investments they put into that. And then you look at this, the piece of asphalt, that is a bit dysfunctional. The time it was built, probably worked really great. It was an economic engine for the city, but it's pretty tired. It's pretty empty. It's not the best looking place, and we'll take you on a walk through this site. So, next slide, please. So on our walk around, this is standing, that's anybody familiar with the site. We'll see that's on the left of the image is the old Safeway building. There's still an active liquor store on there. But believe it or not, where we're standing right here is one of our future main streets. So I was walking out there, trying to pick a nice day, walk, and try to walk like I pretend what's happening here. And what does that feel like? Has anybody done this walk? Why would you do that?
Because there used to be a Safeway there.
What's I know. But walking now, so I mean, it's basically a big parking lot, but it's obviously a tough place to walk. But I did it, pretending, to get the image and feel. This is looking, if you look at the far, look at that one tree in the center, that leads to Central Park. So what we want to do is connect the site back into Central Park, back into the public investments that have been happening over time. Next slide, please. Now we'll walk further down. It's got a little bit backwards, but that's okay. This is from the park itself, from Central Park. I've now traversed the entire 15 acres. I'm standing in Central Park, where this is at the main entry to Central Park, looking back to the site, looking northwest, or not northwest, excuse me, looking directly west of the site. And next slide, please. And this, I spun right around, and I looked at, here's the kind of investments the city has already made. And this was kind of telling for us, because we picked up a lot of materiality here, fancy architect words going, we picked up the brick, we picked up the pavers, we picked up the greenery to bring back over to this site because of the investments the city has already made on it. But it's interesting, just by spinning around, you can see something that's kind of easy on your eyes. You're like, I want to go there, versus something that's uneasy on your eyes, like, why would I go there? So, next slide, please. This is looking at the side. This is actually another one of our future streets right here. This is the side of Safeway. This is Holland Street, as we're calling it. Doesn't say street much on it at all. And behind that chain link fence is the water course, it's Ralston Creek. This is the terminus of the path that comes up to our site here. But it terminates into a chain link fence. You know, thou shalt not go there. You know, though we do have a historic building, I'm being funny, you know, about Safeway there, that we're going to replace over time. So this is a future street in our project. Next slide, please. This is looking right off Garrison Bridge, looking at the backside of the shopping center. You can see the water course on the right, and obviously the back of the strip shopping center. You can see the overhead wires that we'll be getting rid of. And we're going to totally transform this area also. Next slide, please. This is just further down to show you the architectural qualities that are there now. I don't know if any of you walked back there, but I know some of you walked around. But when you really look at the urban or lack of urban condition here, it's atrocious. You know, it's a strip shopping center that had its time. We call these gray fields. They're economically challenged areas that we grind up and create urbanism out of it, while creating a quite greener environment out of it too. Next slide, please. This is the positive aspects, looking back towards, so I spun right around, looking back towards the Garrison Bridge and the Watercourse Way. And, you know, but you see this fence along it, you know, thou shalt not engage it. We want to engage the Watercourse Way and the parkway there directly, and you'll see some images of this coming up soon. Next slide, please. Walking across, what is it? Brooks, thank you. Brooks Street. This is standing on the sidewalk of Brooks Street. I'm 6'4", so my eye height is about 6 feet. Most people are down here, their eye height. And then you across Ralston Creek to the backside of the Strip Shopping Center. Looking at those qualities. Next slide, please. And the same kind of image looking across West 59th Avenue on the public sidewalk, now the senior housing. This is their view, and it's looking to the backside of the Safeway. Next slide, please. So here's a little bit different view. This wasn't being a hot air balloon, but I've got a drone out there. It's amazing what Google can do these days. You know, an aerial view. So we just kind of walked throughout the site from an eye view from how you would actually experience it over time. And again, this kind of tells you the pattern of the lack of green, the lack of urbanism here, and the intense amount of asphalt here. And it's our vision to turn these 15 acres, next slide please, into a mixed-use development. And the mixed-use development consists of phase one, which is about 31,000 square feet of retail, which is in your front lower left 4 acres. And then the mixed-use component, which consists of approximately, let me get my numbers straight, 36,000 square feet of retail, which we're hoping for a grocery store, taking about 30 of that, and about 300 plus units of housing that sit above that. Next slide, please. So this is looking top down, and it's showing you now for what phase one. This is approved of our 31,000 square feet of retail. Jay mentioned some restaurants to the various types that are coming in there, and it's kind of meant to be a kind of a foodie-oriented place. You start to see the beginnings of our street connectivity of our north-south, which is the street, which is Holland, the beginning of that, and our east-west connection, which will eventually come across to the park, which is on your right. We're like I said, right now we're approved for this part of the development. We're in for a building permit from the building department, and we get some numbers back tomorrow from our contractors. So it's moving forward, and now we're layering that for phase two. Next slide, please. Which is the future 11 acres, which is what we're here to talk about, which will fill out the 15 acres of development here. Again, about a total of 360,000 square feet of development in an entitlement outline development plan that has about 870,000 square feet. So left 400 plus square feet on the table. Because this is what we think is doable for the site, that it's attainable and sustainable. Key issues behind the site, and I think I will jump up on stage here. I promise I won't sing, but I don't have a pointer. Key issues on the site are really this connectivity we talked about, coming from Independence here, coming all the way across to the park entry here, coming from Holland here, all the way through West 59th back there. We create a plaza right here where we have a receiving plaza that can be full of bike racks, maybe 1,000 and other amenities, maybe even a little repair station for bicyclists back there. This idea, what we call a fancy Dutch word we use in Holland, it's called Wanhoop, which is a walking street. And that's to help this whole pedestrian connection across here back towards the watercourse way. Then in back of these buildings, we have a public pathway, multi-functional path, to come back to connect, where we can connect it to the drainage or to the bike path of the watercourse of Ralston Creek. And back here. And then, of course, it created a very strong series of sidewalks, activated sidewalks, both north and south, that connect it all together. So this is phase one, which is 31,000 square feet of retail. Phase two consists of these 3 buildings plus the retail building here. Again, about plus 300 square feet on 300 dwelling units of various types. And about 36,000 square feet of retail. Each building is a little bit different, but they all function a little bit differently. We see these courtyards in these 2 buildings here and here. Those are up in the air. This one at the second level, and this one actually where the pool is going to be is at the 3rd level. And you'll see these a little bit better when we show the 3-dimensional images of these things. And then you can see, I wish I could go right back to the original condition here that, we've greened the site about 20% more than the existing condition now, while adding a significant development play. We don't control this, but we're working in concert with them to review their parking, this building right here. And we're in multiple conversations with this gentleman here to try to figure out what's best for the functional use of his property around ours and how the access is at that before. So those 2 parcels are not part of this development. So overall, about 15 acres throughout. So we'll take you for a little walk now. Next slide, please. Through the site, kind of some before and after pictures. So this is our east-west Main Street, which all you're familiar with. Next slide, please. And it's now integrated, with urbanism. Okay, on the right, you're seeing part of phase 1, which we lovingly call Building 4. We're going to find better names for our buildings, which is a retail building on the right. We got beer spelled backwards on purpose. So the idea when we talk about brew pub, that building will actually have a rooftop deck. The buildings on the left is you see the glass storefront is an entry and lobby and some amenity space for residential. You'll see a courtyard that's carved out on the left there, which is that big south-facing courtyard that's up in the air. And then further down is another building. So the idea here is slow-moving streets, multifunctional streets. Questions afterwards, please. Okay.
I promise it will be quick one.
Well, no, afterwards, please. Let me go through this. A multifunctional street where bicycles and pedestrians are king and queen on this site. So my hope is these things are 5 to 10 mile an hour streets throughout here with landscape sidewalks, things like that are activated street fronts. Next slide, please. You saw this earlier. This is one of our other future streets. This is adjacent to the Safeway and the watercourse. Next slide, please. That transforms itself into a residential environment where the ground floor units that you're seeing here, you walk right in. You enter your units right from the street, just like any row house, any townhouse, or any single family home, where the units above are served by corridors and things like that. And you see that bite-out between the two buildings is one of those large courtyards. And again, taking down the fence, reconnecting it back in, make it a part of a single landscape. Next slide, please. This is looking back towards the Safeway and the one tree that's on site. Next slide. And now looking at our intersection. So this is the intersection of our east-west street with with Holland Street. And again, on the far left, you see that retail building. You saw that earlier in one of the other slides. And you're looking at a residential building straight on, and then the beginnings of a mixed-use building. And that will can hopefully contain a 30,000 square foot grocery. Next slide, please. Moving further down our east-west street, you're familiar with this environment here. Transforming it into a more urbanized environment, more contemporary environment. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is looking at our mixed-use building. That have storefronts across, about 200 feet across on this. Activated, like normal storefronts, like you have in Old Town. Residences above that are set back about 15 feet from that. So we have terraces up there for the residences that live there. So we don't have the 3-story mass right up on the street. It's actually modulates back. And again, a strong street front parking, convenient parking for people shopping. Next slide, please. And you saw this earlier. This is the park entry right now. Next slide. That transforms into, that's our major residential entry. That building will contain a majority of the amenities for the residents of this. Those are workout facilities, home theaters, a variety of other things that come with these facilities. That this is now what overlooks the park. And then bringing some of the park design elements across the street that we're going to implement on our small plazas on our side, so the whole thing feels like a piece of work, instead of cut in half between a nice park and a crappy shopping center. Next slide, please. This is Garrison Bridge, walking across Garrison Bridge, looking over the distribution center. The water course is on the right. The lovely utility lines on the right. Next slide. That shows the backside that fronts the water course way that we would engage. In other words, we engage directly. So that's the last of the static pictures. I'd like to show you something a little bit more dynamic. If you can hit it. Then we're going to take some pictures, and we're going to take some comments. That's your number one. And then we're going to break off because we want to hear from you individually. have these images in fact stills here, turn these around. And we'll take some general comments, quick Q&A, then this is what we found so effective last time is Josefina and I and Jay will be up here. If anybody wants to talk to us individually or come look at the boards a little bit more in detail. But now, why don't you start off?
It's yes, no,